thing is when you're a child, actually, what's really interesting is learning it tends to be less stressful for children than it is for adults because the child brain accommodates a lot easier. For adults brains, the accommodation is a much harder way to resolve dissonance. And so what happens when you're a kid is new novel information is more interesting and is like, and yeah, like we tend to remember novelty, and novelty makes time feel like it's moving slower. And so as you become an adult, you are able to assimilate so many more things because you've learned so many things, and there's less novelty in adulthood, which is why time moves so much faster because our brain can autopilot. And there's relativity. But yeah, like kids handle the stress of learning way better than adults do. And so adults just need to know that that's what's going to happen. Like it's just going to be harder for you to learn this. It's not that you can't. You just have to unlearn a lot of things when you're an adult in order to learn something, as opposed to a child who doesn't necessarily have to unlearn things. They can just learn different things. You're going to unlearn bad habits. You can unlearn certain skills, right? Like the idea that like when you're a child, it's really easy to it's easier to get a child to learn how to engage in positive self-talk because there's probably not too much they have to unlearn in terms of like self-blaming patterns. Whereas an adult, if you've spent most of your life with like self-defeating patterns of internal cognition, me talking to a person about how do you all of a sudden start being a lot nicer to yourself and more compassionate is a skill they have to first unlearn, how to like being nasty to themselves and that kind of sequence of self-talk, and then they have to learn the new sequence. It's basically a replacement sequence. That's a lot harder for adults than it is for children. But yes, we tend to remember things in the context of novelty, and for children, everything's novel. Whereas for adults, less things are novel.